Hi guys, it's Geekonomics here, and it's September 2016, the start of the new academic year, and I thought it would be nice to just start the year once again, obviously by welcoming you back, but also to start again our series on the reviews of the Sunday Times. So this is the Sunday Times from Sunday the 4th of September, and I just wanted to pick out a few articles in it which, number one, I'd like you to refer to at some point in the next week, and just others which are of interest to us all. So you'll have heard, no doubt, on the radio, today is Monday, so you'll no doubt have heard today that our Prime Minister Theresa May is currently embarked on a series of trade talks at the most recent meeting of the G20, so it's the group of 20 leading industrialised nations. And there's a nice little article here which just outlines who she's going to be talking to, and it puts a lot of names in the right place in terms of names that you should be aware of and people that you should know of and what their roles are within the global economy. So it says here the Prime Minister will hold one-to-one talks with Barack Obama, Vladimir Putin and the Indian Premier Narendra Modi, as well as the host, who is President Xi Jinping in China. Of course, the G20 meeting is being hosted by the Chinese in China, obviously. And it says here that Theresa May has said, "I want the United Kingdom to be a global leader in free trade, and one of the things I'll be doing at the G20 is emphasising the role that we will be playing in the world." Now, of course, with Brexit and the outcome of the British departure from the European Union, I believe that Brexit is a term that's actually not widely popular in business circles, certainly, so I must stop using that term, Brexit. So the British withdrawal from the European Union, obviously highly topical, given the results of the referendum vote to leave. It's now the case, obviously, that the UK needs to embark upon negotiations. The unfortunate thing is that because we've been members of the European Union for so many years, we do not have a skilled set of negotiators on our doorstep. And so it says in this article that we are flying in some top negotiators from New Zealand and some top negotiators from Australia in order that they might help us to negotiate a sound and obviously beneficial deal. That will obviously be expensive, so these things don't come cheap. And they're going to help us. However, that's in light of comments made by the EU President, and now the EU President is Jean-Claude Juncker, and he will be speaking at his State of the Union speech on September 14, where he has already said that Britain will lose access to the single market if it does not accept free movement of people. Now, our Secretary of State for quote-unquote Brexit, going by the name of David Davis, he suggested that Britain could, whilst maintaining access to the single market, curb some of the immigration. Now, the sounds that are coming from Angela Merkel and her advisors and various sources among that group are saying that actually, Mr. Davis, that is not going to happen. So this is, it's very interesting times in terms of how these negotiations are going to move forward. On the plus side, the Australian Premier, Malcolm Turnbull, he has said that he's very keen to meet with Theresa May in order to negotiate something favourable in the very near future. So that's, although it's only a very short article, I'll just show you that article. It's just this dark grey one here. Very short article. It's quite insightful, and for those of you studying economics, obviously it should be quite useful. The next article I'd like to refer you to is, this will be particularly interesting for those of you who are studying economics and geography, because climate change is a huge issue, obviously, and we look at externalities and negative externalities within economics, but I know within your studies of geography the whole notion of climate change is much more significant with regard to the role it plays in your specification. And so there's an article here about America and China, and it says that America and China have both formally ratified a global pact to curb carbon emissions. These two countries are together responsible for almost 40% of the world's carbon emissions. So it's taken many years. Those of you who studied economics and geography in the past, you'll be familiar with the Kyoto Protocol, which was the predecessor to the Paris Pact. Now the Paris Pact, which America and China have just ratified, that will not become law, as it were, until all 55 member states who signed up to it actually ratify it as well, actually bear that down within their own domestic legislation. So obviously it was some way off getting to grips with this, but at least it's moving, and these negotiations on climate change do take such a long time. At least the big polluters in that respect are starting to move on it. So that's that one. And again, that wasn't in the business section, that's just in the key pages of the Sunday Times. Now we move into, ladies and gentlemen, the business pages of the Sunday Times. David Smith this week, I'm not going to say a lot about what he was writing. He was talking about a cashless society and why at this point in time it would probably be folly to totally remove cash from society. It's quite an interesting article, and he does outline 2 or 3 points as to why that's probably not a good thing at the moment, so do have a look at that if that's something that you're interested in. But closer to home, we've got here Marks and Spencer. Now Marks and Spencer employ 82,000 people in the UK. It's a very large employer. A year ago its share price was 600 pence. On Friday, so that'd be Friday the, what would it have been, for the 2nd of September, its share price was only £3.54. So the share price is almost halved, and the new chief executive is saying that he's going to slash 500 posts at Marks and Spencer. So worrying times for employees at Marks and Spencer. There's another very interesting article with regard to, we look, don't we, in economics at oligopolies, small numbers of large firms, and we often cite, for example, the supermarket industry as a relatively good example. So we've got here an article about Morrisons, showing the share price, etc. But it's talking about Morrisons starting a price war as they attempt to gather back some market share, not only from the big four. So the big four are Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda and Morrison. So Morrison's attempting to gain some ground on their competitors there, but also obviously from the likes of the discounting supermarkets such as Aldi's and Lidl's. So that's an interesting article as well. And yes, the only other thing I wanted to mention, ladies and gentlemen, and I will be speaking to you about this in class this week. Obviously you've had a summer break, you've had some time off, you've probably lost track of these things, but you'll know that in the Sunday Times at the end of the business pages they always have this little summary of the key macro performance indicators, how things are with regards to inflation, unemployment, trade, etc. So do take a look at that. The key headlines are CPI is 0.6%. Now obviously, as a consequence of Brexit and the fall in the pound, that means obviously that our exports are cheaper, and that is helping to, as is in the business pages actually, I should have mentioned that is helping to give our manufacturing sector a boost and to increase their confidence. So they're a lot more confident today than they were 2-3 months ago, which is excellent. But obviously, as export prices fall, import prices rise, and as you'll know, we have to import so many raw materials into this country, which then puts upward pressure on particularly cost-push inflation. And so RPI is now standing at 1.9%. Unemployment is 1.64 million, and the GDP, the quarterly change on GDP, was plus 0.6%. Those are the key headline rates, and those are the things that obviously you really do need to have to hand as an A-level economist. So ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to the year ahead. I look forward to bringing you more videos, more reviews, more meetings with alumni, business people, and just having a really exciting and interesting year. So bye for now.